This video is in response to a few people who've been asking about my guitar amplifier. So I've made this specially for you. You know who you are. You've been contacting me through eBay, through YouTube, not eBay. This is not on eBay, I can assure you. I'm keeping this. So I'll do a little video about it. I'll go through the history of it, how I decided to make it, and then I'll go through the technical details of it, and then at the end I will pick 3 chords that I think I can just about remember, and I'll give you a little demonstration of what it sounds like. This project all started when I found someone just about to throw a guitar amplifier combo in a skip. It was a, if I remember right, it was a Guild Model 99J. I'll check that up, make sure it was that. And I asked, oh, could I have that? Initially thinking that I could maybe salvage some of the transformers or something from it. And he seemed kind of dismayed that I was interested in having this old amplifier. That it was in a bit of a state, right enough, but I managed to get it going by just changing one capacitor. And it took off from there. So the power amplifier stage, comprising of these 2 EL34 tubes, or valves, depending on where you are in the world, is basically a direct copy from that Guild amplifier. The preamp stage, I've got 2 channels, and I think if I remember right, they're very similar to Fender. The front control panel has on-off switch, mains indicators to let you know that this is switched on, and then the controls are master volume, drive for channel 2, tone for channel 2, channel 2 volume, treble for channel 1, bass for channel 1, and channel 1 volume. And input for my foot switch, that switches between the channels, and that's the input for the guitar. That's just a bypass switch to allow you to switch without using the foot switch. And these other 2 little switches are bypass switches for the tone controls, because they're passive tone controls, so they take away from the signal rather than adding to it. I never use them. I really just fitted them to fill up the front panel. The rear is output to the speaker. That's just a vent hole. Somebody did once ask me if I'd made a mistake. There's one there as well, but it was actually just for ventilation. That's the mains input. That's the mains transformer. The rectifier valve. There's, as mentioned, the 2 power tubes, a power valve. That's a choke or inductor to help smooth the DC supply. That's the 2nd, the 3rd, and the 4th and 5th smoothing capacitors. Got the output transformer to the loudspeaker. This is the preamp stage, and that's the phase splitter inverter driver to drive into the power amplifier stage. The chassis I folded up from a sheet of aluminium. There's a piece of polished aluminium on the front just to make it look a bit nicer. It's all point-to-point wiring. It kind of developed over the years. Initially there was no tone controls, and I think this is the tone control section. That made it quite busy. Before that it wasn't too bad. That's the 2 in series first stage power capacitors. There's a couple of resistors across it to keep the potential evenly split. Mains transformer. This is a little transformer to drive the foot switch relay, and it also drives a little cooling fan, which was completely unnecessary. I think I just had it and I thought I'll add it on. It's the output transformer to the speaker. That's the drawing of the driver and phase inverter stage and the preamplifier. There may be some slight differences over the years. I may have modified some of the component values. I'm not sure. I'll put a proper scan of the drawing, and I'll put it so you can freeze it in the video and see it more clearly. And that is the power supply stage and the power amplifier stage. The rectifier tube is a 5AR4. The power tubes, as already mentioned, are EL34 EL34s. The original Guild would have been 6L6GC, which is a very similar tube. There's only one minor difference to them, but they can be, I think, interchanged. The preamp stages and the driver phase inverter or splitter are 12AX7 or ECCE83. This amplifier actually got me a job in a large industrial production facility years ago. It made me stand out. I took along the drawings and information, and the amplifier was actually sitting in the car, and it was the manager of the department was very interested in it, and he asked, "Oh, I would like to see that." I said, "Well, I've got it in the car." So I went down, brought it up and showed him. Didn't have a case at that time, it was just that and the information and the drawings I took in, and it made me stand out, and I got this quite good job out of it actually. I've managed to find a picture, a photograph that I took of the Guild amplifier. It was a Model 99J. That was it after I'd recovered it and fixed it up a bit. It got sold, as often is the case, as a requirement, because I needed money. I'd like to have kept it. It was a very, very nice, clean sounding amplifier. There was no overdrive on it at all. It was very, very clean indeed sounding. Now, it might be worth mentioning about this case that I made for it. If you look at the top of it, it's very, very scratched. It, I think, is an 18th century desktop that came out of my grandfather's mill, a grain mill in Glasgow City in Scotland. He, when he retired, took a lot of bits and pieces out of the mill, and this desktop he had used, he'd cut various bits of wood out of it over the years to make things and repair things, and there was just about enough left for me to be able to make this. So I got one end, two ends and the top out of it, and these bits at the front. I managed to get that out of it. That's not, it's a piece of plywood with a veneer on it, and this is plywood as well. But it's pretty ancient. It's uneven as well. It's thicker at one end than at the other. So I thought that was worth mentioning, a little bit of history. The mill in Glasgow is now a hotel, I think, or part of a hotel. I think it's in Washington Street. Like many hotel chains, it keeps changing its name. But if you look up a hotel in Glasgow on Washington Street, you'll see the old part of the building. And that's where that desktop came from that made the case for my amplifier. more on the fingers and you haven't played for 20 years.